Hi there, I'm Java Jim with First Line Equipment, and today we have in front of us the Lelit Bianca double boiler espresso machine with the manual brew paddle over an E61 group head. In today's video, we're going to be going over how to move the reservoir from the back to the side, so you get a sense of how easy it is to move it over. We're also going to go over quickly on plumbing and draining the machine, as well as accessing the body panel and removal of it, as well as accessing the panel underneath to get to the heating elements. The first step in removing the reservoir and replacing it to one of the sides is to remove the flathead screw with a medium-sized flathead screwdriver, and then winding out the screw with a little washer. Just a note, between the platform for the reservoir and the top cover, there is a washer in there. So when we remove this, you're going to notice a washer here, and there'll also be one on the next step of removing the screw on the bottom. So just keep note of that. The second screw to remove is the bottom screw at the bottom of the reservoir. Of course, you can't have the unit plugged in at the end, and basically you'll see this black wire here, which is for the low water level sensor. If you go plumb in mode, just pull this out and just leave it out, and that will stop the low water level sensor from working on the reservoir. Next step is to remove the black cap with a little, either a flathead small screwdriver or a little pick. This comes out. Keep this on the top. To take out the reservoir, you're going to lift from the bottom and outwards, and then take the reservoir out, lift up the machine, and basically bring it to the top first, and then insert near the bottom like this. And we'll take this washer here that came from this side, tuck it underneath, line it up, and basically set this screw in place with a flathead screwdriver, push down and lock. Then from the bottom, align the holes from the reservoir platform, get the screw in here and basically lock. Make sure the wire's tucked in tank mode, and basically that's it. With an empty reservoir, you can move the platform over from one side to the other or to the back. And just remember to put the black cap back in on the top for the former place of the reservoir. For removing the top panel, we need to remove the reservoir and place it on its side, and then we'll have a whole bunch of screws that we need to take out, Phillips head screws on the top. And best to place the screws into a cup so you don't lose any. So from here, we'll take out all the screws and we'll show you the inside. Now that we have all the screws out, just grip the top panel. Some of the upgrades over our prototype. One was the upgraded vacuum breaker valve with a hose that goes back to the drip tray. We have our OPV here, which you really don't need to adjust. Stainless steel boilers. Nice wide tubing on the group head. And down in here is a cover over the brain unit. First Line specifically requested that cover because in case you spilled any water on the top, that would deflect some of the water from the brain unit. And the one thing that we wanted to note with Lelit was no possibility of water on the inside of the machine. So everything is going back towards the drip tray with these vinyl hoses. We also have a safety valve, which is very nice. And basically, it's to keep all water out that can tarnish the inside, hit electronic components or electrical wires and so forth. And that's why we really like the design. To remove the body panel, we're going to first remove the drip tray and any other components. To not scratch the body, the water reservoir, which is also a nice feature, if you're going to plumb it in, the water reservoir can be removed completely. But we're going to take the machine and we're going to tilt it on its front. Of course, the machine does need to be cold. And if you look here, we can disconnect the water tank hose. We can also disconnect the other end of the black wire for the tank. and we can basically pull off the entire reservoir. And here's the other washer that's at the bottom. And we can just plumb in the machine. So if you need to save space in your plumbing, guess what? You don't need the water tank in place, which is another nice feature of the Lelit Bianca. To remove the body panel, we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws that we'll remove right now, and then we'll show you how to take off the body panel. And you want to loosen the feet a little bit if you need to. And basically the body panel needs to come upwards. And there are snaps here in the front, upper front corner. Then the body panel, basically widen the body panel a little bit. It does make it a little easier if you take the feet off actually. We'll take that off. We haven't had to repair any machine, so this is the first take on this. And basically the body panel comes off. We do have a nice full-size motor here for prosumer machines. As you can see, a lot of copper tubing or stainless steel fittings or brass fittings, high quality. Now, one of the things that when people call, they want a stainless steel boiler because they think that they're going to get limescale. Well, I have news for you, and it's unfortunate. Stainless steel boilers do have limescale that gets on the inside of them, and it ain't pretty. So you still need to soften the water, irregardless of stainless steel and or copper or any other types of metal. So please don't get into the belief that stainless steel is going to 100% reduce limescale buildup, because I've seen stainless steel boilers with limescale buildup. Here is your coffee boiler with the PID, which is located right in here, the sensor. The pump, which is on this side, pumps the water through this copper tubing to this T. This little capillary tube goes for your pump pressure gauge for the brew pressure. So this indicates the pressure at the pump, not with the paddle at the group head, but the actual pump pressure. Here's a solenoid valve to control the water flow through the group head. Here's your OPV for overpressure. This is set around 11 bar. It could be a little different. So that is where the water line, excess water pressure goes. This tube here basically goes to the top of the coffee boiler and inserts water through the top. And typically it's the top where is the hottest. So the water gets inserted through the top, and there's one thermosiphon tube to the E61 group head, and then there's the other one that goes down towards the bottom of the boiler to maintain temperature stability. This other tube right here, this solenoid valve controls the water flow to refill the steam boiler. So it goes along here and refills the steam boiler from the top, but there's a tube that goes inside so that the water gets inserted at the bottom of the boiler. There are some competitive machines that sprayed water at the top, and the chance of damaging the heating element on a steam boiler or an HX machine on the boiler is the water, cold water hits the heating element at the top, not at the bottom. Two safety thermostats on the steam boiler here, which is a nice new feature. And then also another safety thermostat on the coffee boiler in case it goes into overheat mode. And then another safety feature is the safety valve on the steam boiler. In case these two thermostats fail, you also have this safety valve that will blow out steam and then out to the drip tray. Here you have your sensor for the PID controller, and then also your water level sensor that monitors the water level in the steam boiler, because the steam boiler serves for the hot water valve that comes through here on this valve, and then the steam comes out center to this valve for the hot steam. So you have hot water for the hot water valve and steam for the steam boiler coming from the machine. As you can see, the pipe comes from the bottom. Steam pressure pushes the water from the top downwards and then up through the valve. That's why you'll get hot water and steam coming out of the hot water valve. As you can see here, this is why we requested a deflector and a cover over the brain unit, because you do have some exposed wires and it's facing upwards. Another really nice feature is the insulated boilers, but you don't have the brain unit near the top where all the heat is actually emanating upwards. So it's in a good section right here. It's in the rear of the machine, so there's less heat buildup. And then the LCD display is also back in here, not at the bottom and not at the top. So this adds to the longevity of the display for the LCC. I call it LCD, but it's really their LCC. So that's basically the internals of the machine from this point. I'll turn around the machine over here, and here is your access to the pump. It's held in with a bracket to the motor. There are two access panels on the bottom. Again, just removing that simple hose, we can connect the elbow side of the included stainless steel braided hose to the machine, and then there's an adapter to connect to your cold water line. So these fittings are far apart from the frame to avoid vibration. Again, the pump adjustment is right here. If you are going to go over 11 bar, you do need to adjust the OPV that I mentioned before. Here's access to your pressure gauge parts, and the power connector is right here for your electrical cord and plug. For connecting the direct water line, you'll see an attached fitting, and that fitting needs to be replaced into the fitting that's on the elbow. And just need a little wrench, take that off. You can reuse the washer here, or you could put a little Teflon tape, or what they call plumber's tape, onto the fitting here, and then just get this on. This step would be first. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Once you have that on, just take the wrench, and about 1/8 or 1/4 of a turn would typically make a good seal. And then take the elbow side of the hose, and this you don't need any Teflon tape. This you would just tighten the nut, pull down a little bit, because this is going to be snug up against the body, and then just hand tighten, and then with the wrench 1/8 or 1/4 turn just to tighten. And then the other side you can connect to your cold water line. We do recommend the BWT water softening or water treatment system. This could connect right into the valve. BWT also has, for the other end of their filter valve, a hose that will connect to your cold water line nice and easily. So this is to connect the water line. As far as the hose, it's basically just a friction installation that would just fit in like that. And for the hose, for every 12 inches across, you need a 1-inch drop, so you don't get any backup of coffee grinds in the hose. Some customers, if you're going to be moving the machine, you can also put a clamp here on it, but it's not really necessary to put the clamp. And then last but not least, access to the heating elements is very easy. 2 screws for the coffee boiler, in case you need access to repair in the future. We hope you don't, and we don't think you will, but you have access to the heating element on the coffee boiler. And then on the steam boiler, it's the same thing for this panel right here. You do have 1 screw here, and you will have access to the heating element. So you don't have to remove the entire boiler to change a heating element. You do have access to heat check with a multimeter or a continuity tester in case you're not getting any heat. We don't foresee that. And last but not least, did the same thing for the steam boiler. And then here you see a little pinhole. Add into the comments section what you think this pinhole is here for. We'd love to hear from you on what you think that is. We certainly thank you for watching our video on the Lelit Bianca on the technical aspects on how to access. If you have any questions, concerns, please ask below or email us directly. Once again, thank you for watching. This is Java Jim from First Line Equipment, and have a great espresso day.